initiatory mantra needs the diksha of a proper teacher that has been trained. I'm an Acharya, which, is, that was part of my fear of even saying that, is like, I'm a white woman. How do I have diksha in this? It's because my teacher is reviving something that perhaps maybe I lived here in a past life. Maybe there's a connection from the west to the east that has to be revived now. I know this is important information, so that's why I'm speaking to it, but initiation is required for a mantra to be activated in a proper way that will have an impact on your body mind in a very, very strong way. All mantras are powerful. I want to make sure that I say that. All mantras are powerful. And if they're activated, there's a certain upsurge of the Shakti that will become obvious to you that wasn't there prior. Now, when I take in all mantras, I have a very strong experience of kirtan. I have a very strong experience of music. I feel like, Saraswati's Veena is inside of me. It's a tangible difference now. We're thick. We come into the body, and as we incarnate, we come into more and more thickness, like a rock. But we came from star matter. But as we incarnate, we hit that, the tantric tradition says Maya. We hit that level of the Maya Shakti. So the very beautiful energy that made you also cloaked you. That's why Nataraja has his arm like this. Do you all know Nataraja? I've got a little teeny one here, but he cloaks. But then he points to the toe, the Ananda Tandava. He does this dance, and the toe, the foot, right, of the guru is said to be the path of awakening. So grace, anugraha. So how do we come in? We thicken with memory, with detrimental memory in particular. How do we knock that out of our system? We're not going to just do that with japa mantra, because the tongue is moving out. This is another thing that Abhinavagupta brings to us. The understanding of ajapa mantra, of imbibing a mantra inside of you and then learning to surrender, to melt. That has been a process for me because I'm a yogi. I've been doing asana for years, right? And so when I first got my mantra, I was like, let's say it was Om. 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 Inside of me, do you see how I'm pushing the mantra. My ego is pushing the mantra, thinking I, Jeanie, am in charge of this thing I just received. But over the years, I have learned, even though the teachings were always there, I had to go through my own process of like, oh, melting. He keeps saying to melt the mantra, to surrender to the mantra, that I'm not in charge of this mantra. So over the years, I have learned how to close my eyes, and now the mantra just bubbles up inside of me. But at first, we think the mantra, aham, right? Beautiful mantra we get, hamsa, we get from the Vijnana Bhairava Tantra. But the Vijnana Bhairava Tantra, which we don't understand, was given to people that were initiated. If we don't have initiation, we don't have the same experience. And that's just the truth. The raw truth of the Sat Yuga is that we're going to start to see that not all practices have the same efficacy. It doesn't mean that they're not worthy. Like, I still do my asana, I still play an asana, do all kinds of pranayama. I love to do kirtan and play harmonium. And the tongue is still moving out. Have you ever thought about where your thoughts come from? Especially if they're negative. Where do they originate? And then how do they move on your tongue outward, right? Like how does that process happen? That negativity moves off your tongue. So so I'm certainly not saying japa mantras can help everything, right? I do a lot of different japa mantras for, Bagalamukhi mantra for purifying the tongue, like really just like moving into being more present with my speech, because your speech is leading you to your next moment. So the japa mantras are the mantras moving on the tongue, they move out, right? The japa mantras are the ones that move in, right? So the initiatory mantras, although you receive them in a process of japa, then it's like you imbibe them and then they're not spoken outward again. And that's for your own benefit. That's for your own efficacy. That's for the efficacy of the mantra. And what it does is it goes in. It wants to go in. It wants to find the Jeshta current. So if we keep pushing it out, it doesn't go in. It doesn't find the Jeshta current because we're pushing it out with our thoughts, with our tongue, right? So the japa mantras have become even more powerful for me after many years of the japa and the initiatory practices. So does that help at all? Japa goes in, the japa goes out. They're both powerful, but my intuition and my understanding of my own practice is I never felt what I feel now with all mantra and even music. And I'm not perfect. I am not perfect. I have work to do on myself for sure. But the internalization of the mantra has made me more aware of the power of my speech to impact my next moment.